and good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Kindness Rising, your daily dose of hope, humanity, and heart. I'm Matthew Roof, your host, the uncommon kindness guy, and I come here every morning, 7:30 a.m., to help us rise with a little bit of kindness. Thank you to everyone who joined me yesterday. It was a little bit of a rough go to get started, and I really just appreciate it. All the support that I got in terms of my vulnerability, in terms of my willingness to share my story. So thank you very, very much to everyone who joined me and supported me yesterday. And as I say, you can't make a cake without breaking a few eggs. My shell was broken yesterday, but my yolk was intact, and my yolk is my heart, what I bring every day to this show. So thank you very much for joining me, and I really appreciate it. We're going to get back to our regularly scheduled and planned program as we do on Kindness Rising. So today's theme is communities in crisis. We're going to talk a little bit about things that are going on in the world, how we react when our community is in crisis. And the question is, how will we react? What do we do when our community is under attack, whether that's by nature or by humans, and how we band together or don't when things go down. So let's get right to it. I want to talk a little bit about my personal experiences related to this, particularly as it relates to the two major events. Obviously, we've been through a number of them community-wise, but the two that I think of most when I think back on my life are the 9/11 attacks in 2000 and 2001, probably the defining moment of our generation, and then of course the pandemic, which we all lived through and got through together. But what was interesting to me was the differences in the way community reacted to those two events, the way that we responded, and the social impacts that those had related to kindness and giving back and charity. When the 9/11 attacks happened, it affected us all. I am not in any way going to diminish the impact that had on our culture and our society, but the direct impact was somewhat narrow in terms of New York City. Obviously, thousands of lives lost, huge change in our political shifts that happened in our political perspective, our world perspective changed with the war on terror that really escalated at that time. The difference is that the direct impact was very local. Uh, you know, yeah. So that's what happens in those cases, and this has been proven by research, is that community from all around the world comes around and supports. Actually, during 9/11, the 2 years following 9/11, the boost in volunteerism in general, in charity, in giving was something was unprecedented, actually. But what research found was when things like that happen, the growth happens really, really fast, but the fall off happens really fast. So between 2003 and 2006, we saw the largest amount of giving, the largest amount of volunteerism, and then it dropped off just dramatically once time had changed, time had passed. Compare that to the pandemic. Pandemic affected us all. It affected us all directly. Somehow, your life was impacted, whether that was because you lost someone, you got sick yourself, you spent your time isolated in your house. And in those cases, things like that, charity and volunteerism actually doesn't go up as dramatically. And the University of Maryland actually did some research about this, and they called it the terror management theory. And basically, that there are two responses. The first is our proximal defenses. When we're really close to something that's happening, we go into survival mode. We withdraw. We don't really give back. We're so focused on ourselves, somewhat intuitive, right? We're so focused on ourselves and the impact that it's happening. But then there's the distal defenses that happen in things like 9/11 that impacted some people directly. Obviously, again, not to undermine it in any way, But the amount of giving that came back was because our lives, we wanted to do something. We, we weren't directly impacted necessarily, but we wanted to do something. So the amount of giving brought meaning to us for service and that kind of thing. So it's a question of how close the tragedy in the community is to you that really impacts our response. So when crisis happens, it's important to think about that. It's important to think, am I close to this? Am I not? And when we're close to it, it's hard for us to get out of that mindset of I'm so impacted, I'm frozen, I'm in survival mode. But if we think about it and we're conscious and we're intentional about it, perhaps we can change the way we respond. Um, so that's really my take on crisis and response. We all this is I'm doing today's episode obviously as we still continue to work through and process the tragedies, the flooding that happened in Texas and the loss of lives, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. We're also going to talk a little bit about the cultural moments that changed the world. Going to have a little different take on it today. Actually, I had some learning yesterday that opened my eyes as I'm progress, not perfection here on Kindness Rising. As I'm learning and growing, we actually got a message from YouTube saying, "Dude, you can't keep showing those videos. Those are copyrighted materials." So unfortunately, I'm not going to bring a video today, but I'm still going to talk about that cultural moment from a crisis that happened that really changed the world. So thanks for bearing with me on that. So let's get into the meat of the show. Always we do a kindness spotlight, and today I'm going to talk about an organization that is responding directly to crisis in Texas related to the flood. The name of the organization is Team Rubicon. Team Rubicon is a veteran-led organization that is responding in the wake, literally the wake of the flood that happened in Texas that claimed 119 lives, including 36 children. We've all heard the stories about the campers, the devastation, and people are responding because, again, it's distal. It's very local what happened there. So it's distal to those of us who aren't. People are responding and giving and volunteering and showing their love and support for the people who are impacted. But Team Rubicon is right there. They're right in the heart of this. These are the veterans. These are the people who are pushing against that tendency to not respond when things are so local. Team Rubicon was founded in 2010 by a gentleman named Jake Wood. He's a former Marine sniper, and he developed what's called the Gray Shirts. The Gray Shirts are a group of people who get out there when stuff happens and get it done. Just like my mother did in 9/11, responding to the Red Cross and getting down there to ground zero and getting it done and supporting the people who are supporting others and helping us through that crisis. The Gray Shirts get out there in this middle of this flood. They've had 280,000 hours of service. They've impacted 3 million lives. They've served over 800 communities through direct response in a crisis. During the Alaskan floods, during Hurricane Helene, during the California wildfires. These are the guys, the men, the women who are getting out there and getting things done. And nothing short of miraculous and amazing what they are able to do and what they've been doing down in the disaster that happened in Texas. So again, this connects back to the research. We want to thank Team Rubicon. They're responding effectively in the crisis. They're taking their emotional response and turning it into action. And we are so grateful to them for their professionalism, their leadership. And the thing is, they're prepared. They're ready. That's something we have to really think about, is how we're going to prepare and how we're going to respond in a crisis, because it's going to happen. It's going to happen to you. It happened to me 3 times between 2006 and 2011. Our community here in Binghamton, New York, survived 3 major disasters, 2 natural and 1 man-made. We had a major flood in 2006. It destroyed homes, destroyed our community. In 2010, we had a man-made disaster where an individual chose to barricade the American Civic Association, went in with a weapon and killed 10 individuals who were just trying to make their lives better. And then in 2011, after we thought 2006 was the 100-year flood, we got whacked again with 2011. And I saw our community here in Binghamton respond. I saw people responding from far away because we were dealing with the moment to moment here and really processing the tragedies that were happening. But we had national support from those during those times. So again, just more proof, more ideas that we need to be ready when the crisis happens. Get out there and support Team Rubicon, teamrubiconusa.org. Check out their Facebook. They have support for survivors of tragedies. They're funded by donations. So, of course, if you can give, please give. Get out there, volunteer. And their theme, their message is comes down to one sentence. They're not just responding to disasters, they're redefining disaster response. And that's just an amazing mission. They're proving that compassion helps communities and helps us discover our resilience that we knew that we maybe didn't know we had. So get out there and support Team Rubicon. Thank you so much for listening to our Kindness Spotlight. Now we'll move on to our Kindness Good News. This is where we shift into business mode. Again, I say this every day. I'm going to continue to say it, that I believe that business has an important place to play in our society, in our world, and we can do that. We can lead with kindness in responding to communities, responding to disasters. Businesses have the resources, we have the people, we have the leaders who can help us in these times of trouble. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of those organizations that are doing just that. They're proving it through action. They're proving it through putting their money where their mouth is, and the amazing work of some organizations that really responded. I'm going to talk about an organization I've already talked about before. It's one that I love personally because I believe that they have a social mission and they truly believe in that, from giving back, from protecting the earth, from focusing on our natural resources, and that's aligned with their brand. People who are involved in outdoor activities, whether that's hiking or mountain climbing or just getting out there, boating, all those things that we do to interact with our natural world. That's Patagonia. I love their products. This is not an advertisement for them, but it is a support for them and understanding that they're doing much more than just selling clothing and equipment for outdoor life. They respond every time there's a natural crisis. They did it in the in the Western U.S. Where we annually get hit with wildfires. They send emergency gear to the first responders. Their retail locations are set up as community spaces in those communities that are directly impacted by natural disasters. And what's really cool is they actually give paid time off to their employees for volunteering. I think that's an essential thing that we can do as businesses to recognize the impact that we have as a community, and to really help to grow and respond to those times when our communities are in trouble. Give your people a chance to get out there, support them in volunteering, match their donations, those kind of things that can really multiply the kindness. And that's what we do at Uncommon Kindness and Kindness Rising. We're here to multiply kindness, and that's one exact direct action that businesses can have. We also know, I always get into the research, right? The business research is that businesses that support crisis response, businesses that are involved in their community and helping when things are hard, see a 23% increase in employee satisfaction. They have an 87% increase in customer loyalty, especially around crisis response. We're not trying to leverage this or manipulate it so that it is part of our business growth. but it does have an impact. 87% increase in customer loyalty, and ultimately a 35% increase in revenue when we respond to the community. So again, community response for business is not just it's not just doing good. It's actually smart business to be kind, to give back to our communities and support them. Ryan Gellert, I talked about him before, CEO of Patagonia. He has this quote: "When you give people permission to care about something bigger than quarterly profits, they don't just become better employees, they become better humans, and better humans build better business." I think it couldn't be more succinctly put than that, and it's what we believe right here on Kindness Rising. Another example is Salesforce. Salesforce has become the leader in CRM. There's no doubt that what Mark Benioff and the teams at Salesforce have done has been nothing short of world-changing and dramatic in terms of the way we operate business, the way we market business, the way we take care of our customers. But they actually lean into this same idea, and it's very similar to what you heard from Patagonia. And this was during Hurricane Harvey in Houston. They actually donated their platform to help support the relief coordination. The organizations used the CRM to communicate with each other, to understand what was going on during that time of crisis. It was a real impact, a real action that led to support for people in the time of crisis. They provided the tool completely free for nonprofit organizations that were responding to the organization. They offered 4 free paid days off, not free, but 4 paid volunteer days off for every single one of their employees who responded during the hurricane. And Mark Benioff and the team reports that they saw business advantage from that they had a 45% increase in their what they call their innovation metrics during that time period when they were giving employees time off. They were supporting them in supporting their community. They saw record revenue growth during that time again. So just another story of how community response, giving, and kindness is really a smart business strategy. Excuse me, I got a little tickle on the nose there as the sun comes up this morning. So Benioff is absolutely an amazing leader in the world, and he's quoted as saying this: "When we mobilized our people and technology for Hurricane Harvey relief, something shifted. Our employees weren't just working for Salesforce anymore; they were working for something bigger." And they see that. Employees see that. They see the support that they're getting from their leaders. And when leaders put their money where their mouth is and put action where they say they're going to, employees follow. They increase loyalty, they increase productivity, and ultimately they grow their businesses. MIT Sloan School did some research, and they gave this a label, and they call it moral elevation. It's increased creativity and problem solving and team cohesion during times of crisis. And again, it's related back to that terror management theory that I talked about before, and the fact that service, giving back to the community, actually rewires our brains for resilience, so that when things happen locally and they're impacting us directly, we're more strong and able to respond to the things that are happening and have an impact. So that's our kindness news for the day from business. I think we saw a couple really good examples. There are other organizations out there. Those are just 2. We know about Ben & Jerry's, one of my favorites. I struggle with the ice cream. I love it. I just had a pint of everything but in my fridge this week. But Ben & Jerry's, huge organization giving back for social justice, and they continue to always have a top employer ranking related to that. Warby Parker, the eyeglasses, they have their give a pair, buy a pair, give a pair program, and again they've seen noted response. Those are another two examples on top of Patagonia and Salesforce. It doesn't take too much research to dig in and see these companies that are really giving back, yeah, to their community. And I hope that maybe this little message here inspires someone even at a local level. You don't have to be a huge multinational corporation with billions of dollars in revenue to give back. You can do it locally. You can do it with a handful of employees. It's all about that mindset of giving and kindness. So please take that to heart and get out there and make a difference. Now we shift into the kindness call. Yeah, again, yesterday was a little bit rough. I called everybody to it for personal accountability. I'm going to get in and look at the comments and see what people are saying today. Holroyd, Adam Holroyd, the OG from Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Friends, and again, Be Driven. Bernard, I heard your story yesterday about the contract that you received. It's amazing what you can do when you put your focus to your business and you prove how much you're doing. Congratulations to you. And then there's Pitman who wants to fight. Sure. We can fight about it. We don't have to, though. We can just talk about it and have respectful conflict. We talk about that on the show all the time. Conflict isn't a bad thing. It can be a good thing as long as it's respectful, and we do more listening than we do talking. So Pitman, we can have a conversation. Anyway, so let's get into today's kindness call. We're talking about all the things that we always talk about in terms of compassion and gratitude and giving back. And today's kindness challenge is crisis is a catalyst for compassion. So crises don't just happen for organizations and communities. They can happen personally. So I want you to think about a crisis that you faced, personal crisis, something that you were involved with in the community, and identify how that crisis maybe revealed your capacity for compassion. Maybe it wasn't as strong as you wanted it to be. Maybe it was too much. We have to find that balance. Although I feel like you can never give enough, and you can never give enough of yourself. But it might be a crisis again of a personal nature, and how we ask for help, how we help others despite our own struggle, and we increase our sensitivity to others' pains, makes us resilient. It makes us resilient. It makes us stronger. So please get out there, think about the crises that you had, and ultimately think about someone who you helped during the difficult time, and think about how that had an impact on you, how that had an impact on them. Recall it with them. Get specific in your discussion. The more specific you can be around these things, the stronger you will be, the more benefit you will get, and the other person will get from that. And then ultimately ask how they paid it forward. We want to talk about paying it forward. When we receive kindness, we want to give kindness back. So that's the challenge for today. I want you to think about time of crisis, get out there, talk about the things that happened, and ultimately share your stories. I was really hopeful that these calls to action will make a change. I think they will. I hope that people are taking them to heart, even if you're not talking about it here, although I would love for you to do that. So when we share our stories, we create a blueprint for how other ordinary people can make a change. Share your story, get out there, talk about it. It's really, really important in order for us to multiply kindness and prove that kindness isn't weakness, it's powerful. So that's basically today's show. We talked a little bit about my personal experiences with crisis, the research about proximal and distal responses to crises. We talked about some organizations, Team Rubicon, that's out there and helping out in the Texas flood and all kinds of responses to crises in our community. We talked about Patagonia and Salesforce and these great companies that are out there putting their money where their mouth is and showing that kindness isn't just being good, it's smart business. So I had a plan. I had a plan to share a video around the cultural impact of our response to crisis, but we're going to work on other ways to get that kind of media out to you. I'm working with Keith on developing our own original content so that we can continue to have that impact without breaking copyright rules or having to pay for the use of content. So there are lots of things out on YouTube that you can watch and see, and I encourage you to do that. But today's cultural moment we're going to talk about takes us back to 1985. Seems like, again, I focus a lot of these on the 80s. It's the time that I grew up in. It was the impactful time in my life as I was in development. In 1985, I was 13 years old. I remember this like it was yesterday. It was the first time I ever saw a group of celebrities, a group of well-known people who I admire and respect, bond together to respond to a crisis. It's probably not a surprise to those who lived through this time that I'm talking about, USA for Africa, and We Are the World, the work of Quincy Jones and Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie and all those stars, Bruce Springsteen, Bob Dylan, basically you name it, up to and including Dan Aykroyd, who I love for his comedy. I remember him singing, and I'm like, what the hell is Dan Aykroyd doing singing this song? But the point is, they all bond together. They came together when they saw the crisis of food happening in Africa. It continues. It's an ongoing struggle. But it was the first time I ever saw a community come together and respond. And I think it changed the world. Live Aid followed after. Farm Aid followed after. Those were amazing. Comic Relief with Robin Williams and Whoopi Goldberg. These groups of celebrities that were realizing that the world is not just about them and their little time in Hollywood or Nashville or wherever they were based, but to really have an impact on the world as celebrity, not just through their art, but through their giving and their charity. And I just thought it was really cool. It definitely had an impact on me personally. It definitely brought forth the idea that groups of people can come together and have an impact through the work of USA for Africa directly. They raised $60 million in 1985, or $225 from 1985. I don't know the math, but it's not 60 million. It's a heck of a lot more than that. But really, the impact that movement had, that USA for Africa, We Are the World movement had, was showing the world how people bonding together, coming together around a tragedy or in a crisis can have a real impact. The cultural impact of that is, I think, beyond measure, and it still happens today. We see it with all kinds of organizations and events happening for charity. So that's today's show. We're going to wrap it up. Appreciate it. I want you to get out there and think about the crisis response that you have, whether it's personal or professional. I want you to think about how you might change the way you respond, how your compassion can come through, and continue to join me right here on Kindness Rising, 7:30 a.m. as the opener to Mornings in Lab with Keith and Friends at 8 o'clock. I'm sure some of you are moving on over there to check out what Keith has to say. And just remember that kindness isn't weakness, it's powerful. Crisis doesn't just reveal who we are, it reveals who we can become. And charity isn't just about giving to others, It's about discovering abundance. And when we choose connection over isolation, service over self-protection, and love over fear, we can change the world. So stay uncommon and stay kind. Have a great day, everyone.